Imagine a group of powerful men, billionaires, politicians, and bankers, gathered in secret on a remote island. What they discussed would forever change the financial system of the United States, and the entire world. But the plan they created was not for the people. It was to ensure that the financial elite had absolute control over money. This is the mystery of the secret meeting at Jekyll Island and the birth of the Federal Reserve. At the start of the 20th century, the United States was facing frequent financial crises. The Panic of 1907 shook the market, and the public was in distress. The great bankers of the time convinced the government that a new system was needed to prevent future collapses. But the truth is, behind this so-called solution, there was a much darker plan. In November 1910, a small group of men boarded a train bound for an undisclosed location. No journalists were invited. No official records were kept. The group included Senator Nelson Aldrich, head of the Senate Finance Committee; Henry P. Davison, representing J.P. Morgan's bank; Paul Warburg, a European banker with powerful connections; Benjamin Strong, who would later lead the Federal Reserve; representatives of the Rockefeller, Morgan, and Rothschild families. Their destination was Jekyll Island, Georgia. There, isolated from the world, they planned what would become the U.S. Central Bank. But this central bank would be different. It wouldn't be controlled by the government. It would be controlled by bankers. Their plan was brilliant. They created a system that ensured bankers would always control the economy, regardless of who was in political power. The scheme had three main pillars: the creation of a private central bank that would have a monopoly on money issuance; the approval of a progressive income tax, ensuring that the government would always have funds for its operations; and the most shocking part, this structure followed 2 of the 10 principles of the Communist Manifesto. But how could they make the public accept a private bank controlling the nation's money? Simple. They gave it a name that sounded governmental: the Federal Reserve. Most Americans believed it was a public institution, but in reality, it was a financial cartel run by the elite. 3 years after the secret meeting, in 1913, the plan was set in motion. President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act, officially creating the Federal Reserve System. From that moment on, the U.S. economy was controlled by private banks, not the government. And this new system allowed something that changed everything. Now, money could be printed without being backed by gold, causing inflation. The government could go into endless debt, while bankers profited from interest. The public would never know that the country's financial power was actually in the hands of a select few. Years later, filled with regret, Woodrow Wilson stated, "I have unwittingly ruined my country." Today, more than 100 years later, the Federal Reserve remains one of the most powerful institutions in the world. It controls interest rates, decides when to print money, and, with a single announcement, can trigger global economic crises. But was this system truly created to help the people? Or was it a carefully crafted scheme to ensure that financial power never left the hands of the elite? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Diplomatic Underworld. Here, we explore the secrets of power, espionage, and conspiracies that shaped the world. And what do you think about the Federal Reserve? Leave your opinion in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going.